I never thought a bird so small could pull me out of the darkest hole of my life. But that's exactly what happened. Hey everyone! I'm Leo, I'm 25 years old, and if you're watching this video for the first time, welcome to the channel. If you're already following me, it's great to see you here again. Don't forget to like this video if it touches your heart in any way, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of our stories about these incredible birds that are cockatiels. Today I want to share with you a very personal, very intimate story. A story that completely changed the course of my life. And it all started at the most difficult moment I've ever lived through. It was early fall. I remember it well because the leaves were starting to turn yellow on the tree I could see from my bedroom window. I was going through a very complicated phase in my life. I had just gotten out of a long relationship, had been unemployed for months, and despite my family trying to help me, I felt completely lost, you know? Depression had crept in quietly, as it always does. First it was just a sadness that wouldn't go away, then came that feeling of emptiness in my chest, as if something had been torn from inside me. I spent entire days in bed, with no desire to shower, no desire to eat, no desire to live, to be completely honest with you. My mother was desperate. She tried everything, invited me to have lunch together, suggested we go for walks, even made an appointment with a psychologist for me. But I was in that phase where you can't accept help from anyone, you know? You think nothing will make a difference, that nothing will change. That's when she had an idea that, at the time, I thought was completely crazy. She came home one day, in the late afternoon, with a small cardboard box with holes and a shy smile on her face. "Leo," she said, "I know you're going to think I've gone crazy, but I brought you some company." When she opened the box, I saw for the first time that tiny little thing, with all its feathers puffed up in fear, little black eyes shining, and that yellow crest that looked like a small sun on top of its head. It was a female cockatiel, still a baby, who had been rejected by her parents at the breeder where my mother had gone to get her. "She also needs love," my mother said softly. "Maybe you can help each other." I confessed that at first I was kind of annoyed. I could barely take care of myself, how was I going to take care of a bird? But when I looked at that little creature trembling with fear inside the box, something inside me stirred. It was as if I recognized in her the same fear I was feeling. My mother had prepared a basic cage in my room, with food and water. She quickly explained the essential care and left me alone with the new resident. I remember I spent the first night just watching her. She was quiet in a corner of the cage, still scared of the new environment. From time to time she would look at me, as if trying to understand who I was and if I represented any danger. And you know what happened? For the first time in months, I had to think about something other than my own pain. I had to worry about whether she was eating properly, whether the room temperature was good for her, whether she wasn't feeling too lonely. On the second day, I started talking to her. At first it was just a few loose words. "Hi, little one, it's okay, don't be afraid." My voice was hoarse from not using it for so long, but she seemed to like hearing me. She would tilt her little head to the side, as if paying attention to every word. I hadn't given her a name yet. I was waiting to get to know her personality better to choose something that would suit her. And what a personality! In the first few days, she was shy and scared, but also very curious. She observed everything around her with those attentive little eyes, and whenever I came near the cage, she would come toward the door, as if wanting to interact with me. It was on the fourth day that something happened that changed everything. I was having a really strong anxiety attack, you know those where you feel like you can't breathe properly and your heart races? I was sitting on the bed, trying to control my breathing, when I heard a sound I had never heard before. It was her, singing. It wasn't that strong, loud song that adult cockatiels make. It was a soft little song, almost like a whisper, but so sweet, so gentle, that it seemed like she was trying to calm me down. I looked at her and she was staring at me, singing that little melody as if it were just for me. In that moment, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. I wasn't alone. And you know how cockatiels are, right? They're social beings by nature, they need company, interaction. Speaking of which, if you have a cockatiel or are thinking of adopting one, I've left some links in the description of this video with incredible products that can make all the difference in your bird's life. There are toys that stimulate their intelligence, balanced food specific for each stage of life, and even accessories that make the environment more cozy. Check it out later, it's really worth it. But back to the story. As the days went by, I realized I was creating a routine with her. I would wake up and the first thing I did was greet her. "Good morning, little one." And she would respond with those characteristic cockatiel sounds, as if greeting me back. I started researching cockatiel care on the internet. And this was important because it gave me a purpose, you know? I wanted to be the best caregiver possible for her. I learned about proper nutrition, about the importance of sunbathing, about how to identify signs that she was happy or stressed. That's when I discovered she needed more space to fly. The cage my mother had bought was good for the beginning, but I could see she was getting restless, wanting to stretch her wings. So I had to leave the house for the first time in weeks to buy a bigger cage. It seems silly, but that simple trip to the pet store was a milestone for me. I had left the house with a purpose. I had gotten ready, combed my hair, brushed my teeth. Small things that for most people are automatic, but for me, at that moment, were great victories. The store clerk was super attentive and taught me several things about cockatiels. He told me about the importance of letting her out of the cage to fly around the house, about how to teach basic commands, about socialization. I came home with the new cage and full of plans. When I set up the new cage in my room, her reaction was incredible. She started exploring every corner, testing the new perches, playing with the toys I had bought. And for the first time since she arrived, I saw her truly happy. It was around this time that I finally chose a name for her, Hope. Because that's exactly what she had brought into my life. The weeks went by and our relationship grew stronger and stronger. Hope began to recognize my voice from far away. When I came home, she would start singing before I even entered the room. She learned to imitate some sounds I made, and even developed a small vocabulary of a few words. But the most incredible thing was how she perceived my mood. On days when I woke up sadder, she would stay closer, sing softer, as if she knew I needed affection. On days when I was more cheerful, she would be more playful, make more noise, as if celebrating with me. I started talking to her about everything. I told her about my fears, my anxieties, my plans for the future. And she listened to me, man. She really listened to me. She would stay with her little head tilted, her little eyes fixed on me, as if understanding every word. It was through these conversations that I began to organize my own thoughts. Talking to Hope, I could get out things that had been stuck inside me for months. It was as if she were my private therapist, always available, always patient. After 2 months living with her, I got the courage to do something I hadn't done in a long time. I went out to look for a job. And do you know why? Because I wanted to buy better things for her. I wanted to give an even better life to my Hope. And wouldn't you know it worked? I got a job at a small company, nothing extraordinary, but it gave me the stability I needed. And the first salary I received, part of it went directly to products for her, premium food, educational toys, a playground for her to play outside the cage. Hope was becoming an adult cockatiel, and what a beautiful adult. Her feathers became more vibrant, her song stronger and more melodious. She learned to speak some words clearly, Leo, hi, bye, and curiously, you okay, which was the question I asked her most. But the most special moment of our time together happened after 4 months. I was having a particularly difficult day at work, had come home tired and a bit discouraged. I sat on the bed and started venting to her, as I always did. Hope, I said, sometimes I still feel lost, you know? Sometimes it seems like I don't really know what I'm doing with my life. And then she did something she had never done before. She left the cage, which was open, flew to my shoulder, and stayed there, quietly, as if comforting me. She had never done this so deliberately, so lovingly. I felt her soft feathers touching my neck, heard her tiny breathing close to my ear, and in that moment I had absolute certainty, I was no longer alone. I had found a pure, unconditional love that didn't judge, didn't demand, that just existed. And it was in that moment that I realized how much I had changed. I was taking care of myself again. I was showering regularly, eating properly, sleeping better. I was leaving the house, working, making plans. Depression hadn't simply disappeared, it still showed up from time to time, but I had learned to deal with it in a different way. Hope taught me that caring for another living being can be a way to heal yourself. That love doesn't need to be complicated or full of conditions. That sometimes the most sincere companionship comes in tiny packages, with feathers and a heart that beats faster than ours. Today, after 2 years living with her, I can say that Hope really saved me. Not in a magical or instant way, but in a gradual, consistent, loving way. She gave me a reason to wake up every day, taught me to be responsible again, showed me that I was still capable of loving and being loved. And you know what's coolest? Our story inspired other people around me. My mother, who had the brilliant idea of bringing Hope home, also fell in love with cockatiels and now has 2. My brother, who initially thought birds were too much work, is seriously considering adopting one too. By the way, if you're thinking about bringing a cockatiel into your life, whether for companionship or to help someone who's going through a difficult time, I can't recommend it more. But remember, they need specific care, quality products, lots of love and attention. In the description of this video, I've left some links to products I use and wholeheartedly recommend. These are items that make a real difference in the quality of life of these incredible birds. It's worth checking out. Today, Hope continues to be my daily companion. She wakes me up in the morning with her cheerful songs, greets me when I come home from work, and is still my confidant in difficult times. She taught me that healing sometimes comes in forms we never expected. She taught me that there's no such thing as small love. That no matter the size of the heart, if it beats with sincerity, it's capable of saving lives. That sometimes we need to take care of another being to learn to take care of ourselves. Hope gave me exactly that, hope. Hope that better days can always come. Hope that we're never really alone. Hope that love exists in the simplest and purest forms. And you know what's most incredible? Today I work as a volunteer at an NGO that rescues abandoned birds. Every weekend I go there to help take care of cockatiels, parrots, canaries that have been mistreated or abandoned. And it all started with what Hope taught me, that caring with love transforms lives. I look at her now, while I'm recording this video, and she's there in her cage, playing with the new toy I bought last week, completely happy and healthy. And I feel enormous gratitude. Gratitude to my mother, who had the sensitivity to realize I needed different company. Gratitude to depression itself, which taught me to value moments of light. But mainly, gratitude to little Hope, who showed me that saving and being saved can happen at the same time. If you made it this far in the video, thank you so much for listening to me, for sharing this special story with me. If it touched your heart in any way, leave a like to give me that support, and subscribe to the channel to follow more stories about these incredible creatures that are cockatiels. And tell me in the comments, do you have any special story with a pet? How did they change your life? I read all the comments and love talking with you all. Remember to take a look at the video description to check out the products I recommend for those who have or want to have a cockatiel. These are products that make a real difference, tested and approved by Hope. Thank you once again, and see you in the next video. Bye, everyone.